girls watching TV shows, and some of it's good and some of it blows. And when we finish the movies, yeah, we need a scotch, and we turn to each other and say, what did we just watch? And we're live. Welcome.
Hi.
Yay.
Welcome to
What
did we just watch?
Oof.
We'll get it down one day.
We'll get it down.
Yeah.
We're here. We just watched A Princess for Christmas.
Starring
Really let that title.
Katie
sink in.
McGrath, Sam Hugan. I think that's his last.
The guy from Outlander.
The guy from Outlander. One of the James Bonds.
A little girl.
Not Sean Connery, but
boy
one of the
who's
Bonds.
also a rapper.
Yeah, it was a star-studded cast.
It really was. And it was pretty good, honestly, I would say.
Yeah, I like when you get to our ratings, it's gonna be higher than 2 half-eaten apples from A Teacher.
I have my
Better
rating
than
ready.
A Teacher. I will give it that. I will say that it is better than A Teacher.
That doesn't take much, honestly.
It doesn't say much, but
Okay.
yeah.
So this movie was made in 2011, and like from the opening scene, you like know that this is an old movie because you're like, why is everyone dressed like this?
Yeah. And that question sticks with us throughout the whole movie.
Yes,
why is everyone dressed like
they're like, let's put Katie McGrath in the worst possible outfit combination in this whole entire movie.
Yeah. Oof.
But at the beginning of the movie, the first line wrote it down was, "Once upon a time in a land called Buffalo." That was the opening line.
Katie McGrath is from Buffalo, and you will hear about it every 3 minutes.
Yes.
Of the show.
She's from Buffalo, and she works at an antique store called Buffalo Antiques and Stuff.
Buffalo Antiques and Stuff.
And she like fixes clocks, and she knows like fancy antique brands, and she's like very excited for her job. And she tries an American accent, and it just goes in and out from her Irish one like throughout.
Yeah.
Or she's Scottish, but like she has an accent, and you can hear it through.
What do you think the and stuff, like if we're going to Buffalo Antiques and Stuff, we'd obviously be able to find the antiques. What do we think we'd find for the stuff?
Maybe there's like some things that are like, they won't classify as antiques because they're newer.
Yeah, they're not old enough.
Stuff.
Maybe
like,
the and
there's
stuff.
A clock that Katie McGrath needs to fix, but like it's a clock from like the 90s.
Yeah,
so it's not
right.
an antique.
Or like there's an
Not
iPhone there for some reason, and they're like, "This is not an antique."
iPhone and antiques and stuff. The first thing I wrote from the opening is, I am already getting bad vibes from this. But I was proven wrong.
The opening is like a kaleidoscope of like different things. Like it starts with Katie McGrath. It goes to her children that she's watching, but it turns out it's not her children. It's actually her siblings' kids. But one kid is a 7-year-old girl, and the other one is like, I don't know, 15.
15-year-old boy, yeah.
15, yeah, probably.
The 7-year-old girl is trying to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich, where she gets jelly all over her stuff, and she's like, oh no, I'll put it in the wash. But the nanny's doing a crossword puzzle and not watching. Not that she needs to watch her make the jelly sandwich, but she should have heard her like in the laundry room trying to figure out how to use the laundry room.
Yeah, she also dropped the entire container of jelly on the floor. Mm-hmm. Like, you probably would have heard something like clang to the floor.
Yeah. But
she
then
was doing a crossword puzzle.
Yeah, she was doing crossword puzzle. She was distracted. This little girl goes and pours an entire bottle of laundry detergent into the washing machine.
That's how that works.
Hijinks ensue in the first 10 minutes. It's all hijinks.
Hijinks and shenanigans.
At the same time that the little girl is filling the laundry room floor with soap, the boy is stealing
an X-rated video game.
Yeah, it's called like Ninja Assassin, something like that.
What did they call the worker? They were like
Psycho Bob.
Yeah, they were like, Psycho Bob won't let us get this video game, so we have to steal it. And I'm like, why are you calling him psycho? He's just doing his job. You're a child.
Yeah.
He's not gonna tell you.
They also introduced so many characters in the first scene that they never come back
We
to.
never see them again.
Like,
never see
Milo
them
has
again.
a friend that, like, helps
Yeah.
him steal, and they run away together. She doesn't come back. Psycho
Psycho
Bob
Bob doesn't come back.
come back.
Psycho Bob is my type, though. If Psycho Bob's listening, hit
Psycho
me up.
Bob, do not call him.
If Psycho Bob wishes, you could give me a call. We also meet the nanny, who we don't see after the first scene, which
She
we'll
quit
get to.
right away.
Yes, she quits
Because the little girl puts an entire container of soap in the washing machine, and soap covers the floor.
But
So
again,
we've
it's
had-
like not her laundry room, and she was supposed to be watching her, so I don't know why she was so upset. But like,
But they did glue her
There we
purse
go.
to her chair. So
Yeah.
that was kind of bad.
That's true. On the way out while she quit.
Yeah.
And we have all these hijinks happening. They're running away from like little boy Milo and his friend are running away with their X-rated video game from Psycho Bob. And then it cuts back to the antique shop where Katie is like gleefully fixing an antique item. And then the boss calls her over and is like, Katie, come here. And we know she's about to get fired. Like, there's nothing else.
The music change is really sad. It's like a sad violin playing, and you're like, wow, she's gonna get fired.
She's
Can't
getting
wait.
fired. Yeah, so he was like, I'm sorry that you've had a really hard year because your sister-in-law and your sister and brother-in-law died.
Last year.
I will be
at
needing
Christmas
to fire
time.
you. Yeah.
And he was like, sorry, Buffalo Antiques and stuff is going under, and we can't have you anymore. And she's like, but I'm your best like worker. And he's like, well, goodbye, Katie. I hope you have a good life. Also, her name is Jules in the movie, but I feel like we're just gonna keep calling her Katie.
We're probably gonna keep calling her
probably.
Katie McGrath. Also, I wrote in my notes, sister and brother-in-law are dead, question mark. Katie McGrath needs to listen to FKA Quit Twigs and have a good cry.
She does cry a lot in this movie.
She
though.
does cry a lot in this movie.
while she was getting fired, we found out from her boss's spiel that it's Christmas time, right? Because it's a Christmas movie, and her sister and brother-in-law died exactly 1 year ago. We don't know how, right?
We don't know how. They don't
We
tell
assume
us.
a car crash.
Like leaving her
Yeah.
with like these two children to care for. And he was like, I'm so sorry. It's been a really tough year for you, and you're fired. So that's when we learn who these children are and why she is taking care of them.
Yeah.
So she drives back to her house, really sad and upset. She crashes into the trash can in front of her driveway, where she could have just stopped before she hit the trash can, but she hit it anyway and was like, dang it, Milo, why don't you put those trash cans up? And you're just like, Katie, you could have just stopped right beforehand.
Katie, you have full view of the path in front of you. Why did you just stop?
And that's when the nanny quits. The nanny's like, your kids are crazy. Milo keeps sneaking out. What's the girl's name? The little girl's name?
Maddie, right?
Maddie keeps like terrorizing me. I quit. And she's like, Katie McGrath is like, I just need one thing to go right in my life.
She just lost her job. She just crashed her car. Milo stole a video game. Maddie flooded the washroom. The nanny's about to quit. Who knows what'll happen next?
It might be a Christmas miracle. We're hoping for a Christmas miracle by the end of this movie.
And lo and behold, well, the nanny quits.
And then
Quit.
Knock,
Milo
knock, knock.
Oh yeah. Go on.
Knock, knock, knock. It's a random British man at the door.
He's like, hi, I'm
Like,
Mr.
vaguely
Winterbottom.
Western European. It's never the
Yeah, that's more accurate.
The actors all have like different Western European accents. Just to, like,
There was
mix
no
it up.
consistency in the casting.
This guy is
whatsoever.
British, but like we don't know.
Yeah. And
Anyway.
like, he's like, hey, their grandpa, which is the brother-in-law's dad, is dying. And he wants to see his grandchildren. Katie McGrath was like, get out of here. We don't need that in this life. And they don't need any like more disappointment. And he's like, please reconsider. Here's a check. And he gives her a check for $12,000, just enough.
It's like not a lot of money since we just learned that the grandfather is like a royal duke.
Yeah,
And, like,
honestly.
Cut off his son. Like, $12,000? That's the best he can do? I don't know.
Yeah,
For
I
two
forgot
children
to mention,
also.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that the grandfather did cut off his son because he married lower class, which was Katie McGrath's sister.
Yeah. So,
but
then what does she do after that? She goes into Milo's room. Oh, she cries. Yeah.
Yes.
As you do. I would cry too. Photo.
Yeah, she talks to her sister's photo, and she's like, I wish I was a better mom to your kids. And it's sad. You're like, wow. It is sad. And then a little envelope comes in with plane tickets to Castleberry, which is where they need to go. And she's like, Castleberry. She's like, okay, I guess we can go. So we are in Castleberry now. I don't know what country it is.
So important news. So we see the shot of Castleberry, and I think all of us were like, wait, that looks exactly like the Christmas Prince castle. If you've seen the Christmas Prince, you know. And
Christmas
so
is 1, 2, or 3.
Any of them, you know. If you know, you know. And we were all like, wait, that looks suspiciously like the Christmas Prince castle. And throughout the rest of the movie, we saw like random locations that looked the exact same as the Christmas
Prince. Open the main hall, and you're like, that's where she walks down.
Yeah, and then they have like a really like small, like thin courtyard that like they're doing archery in, which they also do archery in the Christmas Prince in the same location. And we looked it up, and it is the same exact castle. They shot both movies there.
There's just one castle where they film shitty Christmas
Prince movies.
Except for a princess. What is this called? A Princess for Christmas did it first because this came out.
It did it first.
Yes.
And as we move on through the story, I'm going to point out some similarities to the Christmas Prince because they're striking. I think that they just assumed that no one saw the Christmas Prince or what is this movie?
Princess
for Christmas was not a very popular film as far as we know. So the Christmas Prince just sort of took some things from it, we think.
First similarity, they're both from New York.
But Katie's character is from Buffalo. They continue to tell us.
Buffalo.
She's a Buffalo gal.
But they're both from New York.
Beer.
She does eat wings and drink beers.
That's the line. That was a line Emily said.
We aren't in Buffalo anymore.
She does say that as soon as she walks in as well.
Yeah.
And the soundtrack in this movie fucking slaps.
Yeah, the soundtrack's actually really good. Like
really good.
Compared to A Teacher last week, where like it was dissonant and like uncomfortable the whole entire time, but like not in a good way.
Yeah.
Like music can be uncomfortable, but it can also be good. But it was just like bad last movie. But this movie music was actually pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
So what? Okay, so what goes next? Oh, they introduce them to Castleberry. They get their like servants. Some butlers, some maids. Milo hits on one of the maids, and it's like uncomfortable, and everyone's like, ugh. And then they just move right past it.
Yeah, he just like dropped a sprinkle of misogyny, and they moved on.
Yeah, and then the kids get introduced to their room, and it's gendered just for them. Like the little girl's room, Maddie's room is for a kid. Milo's room has like statues of knights and swords and stuff, and you're like, yep. And then Katie McGrath's room is just like an adult room.
Yeah. What happens next? Do they meet the prince and the grandpa or not yet? Doesn't she meet the prince next?
They meet the prince when she like tears the thing off the wall, right?
She tears off a sconce.
Yeah. She's trying to she's like lost or something, or she's looking for the kids, and she's like walking around. And then she like rounds a corner. It doesn't even make sense how it happens. So I don't know how to.
He's like walking up the stairs, and she rounds the corner.
And they bump into each other in a doorway. And for some reason, like the surprise of it all causes her to like grab a sconce
and
on the wall,
pull
in
it
the doorway,
down,
and pull on it, and it comes off. And she's like, "Oh no, I've broken something," and she continues to like be clumsy and break shit throughout the movie.
Yeah, that's like her personality.
This guy,
just
and
like
then
the Christmas
they have
Prince.
This like deep conversation about how, like, she knows the brother. So that it turns out that it's like her brother-in-law's brother.
His
Like,
name
so
is
her sister's
Ashton.
husband's brother. And they start talking about the brother and like how he's dead and all this stuff.
Rip.
And he's like,
Chase.
oh yeah, totally. Like, and they're like kind of close together. There's some tension, but like nothing really happens. And then like they just move on, I guess. They go their separate ways.
Yeah, and then they like, and then they're like, oh, don't forget dinner's at 8:30. And they're like, cool, lit, we'll be there. And they were late for dinner, which makes no sense because dinner was down the steps at 8:30. So like, what were they doing before then? I don't know.
Maybe they had jet lag.
That is true. They have some crazy shenanigans trying to get to dinner as well, even though it's like down one flight of stairs. They run into walls, they run past the entryway and then walk back Scooby-Doo style. You're like, what's going on?
All you had to do was walk down the stairs. It was right there.
And that's when they introduced the grandpa, and the grandpa's like a grumpy old man, and it turns out he's not dying. The butler guy who
they lied about that.
Yeah. And they're like, dang, they tricked us. And
also in this scene, the little girl who's like probably like 7 or 8 walks up to the grandpa and goes, grandfather, like she's 2. And it really irritates me because I teach that age, like how they portray kids in movies. Like she can speak sentences and she's like, grandfather, I love you. Like she's a toddler. I'm like, she can say things. She also has sentences.
Yeah, she's also been saying things throughout the whole entire movie beforehand. So it's weird that she was like, grandfather, I love you.
And throughout the whole movie, she acts like a toddler too. She's like, my dolly got his head ripped off. I'm like, grow up, go find your own dolly head. You're 8 years old.
That's actually a plot point, her losing her doll head.
Yeah, there's this doll.
Because this movie actually lacks a lot of substance. It's just kind of like,
believe it or not.
Like all of these unrelated plot points, there's no central conflict whatsoever. No. There's a lot of like unrelated conflicts and plot points that get resolved in like one scene.
Yeah, like in the Christmas Prince, really where she wants to figure out who this bad boy prince is. That's like the central plot. There's none of that in this movie.
No
we thought it was like that everyone was gonna hate Christmas, but then that got solved 30 minutes into the movie. And we're like, we have an hour left.
Yeah, and like when she meets when they're at this dinner, like meeting the grandpa and the prince, they seem like really cold. And then like a scene later, they're fine.
Yeah, and they're like, we hate Christmas. And then she gets a tree and the grandpa's like, oh no, like I didn't want one. And then like suddenly he likes Christmas. Like that's how everything goes in the movie. And I know I'm getting like a scene ahead, but like that's just like the premise of the entire film, that like
honestly, we can move ahead too because there's nothing that we're missing. There's no substance here.
The dinner scene, the grandpa insults his like grandchildren's like interests
and hobbies. Yeah.
Milo's like, hey, this is a hockey shirt because he's wearing a hockey jersey, and the grandfather's like, I hate hockey. They're a bunch of thugs, and everyone's like, okay. And then he talks about cricket, and then like you're like,
he's like, cricket's a man's sport. Now cricket.
And then it fast forwards to like, I don't know, I guess Katie McGrath like talks to Milo and he's being like a little butt. But again, his parents did die a year ago. So he can be a little bit of a butt. But he's like being a major butt throughout this like whole entire movie.
He's like, you're not my mom.
Yeah.
And she's actually like trying though. It's not like she's like
they have so many movies where like when there's like an angsty teen and like a father or mother figure that's like trying to fill their shoes, they always like throw the you're not my mom line. But like Katie McGrath is just trying her best. She's like, you're totally valid to like be upset. They both died. Like, yeah, like that's really sad. And he's like, fuck you, Katie McGrath. You really suck.
She's really just trying to relate to them because like her sister also passed away. She really misses her, and he's just like, yeah, I hate you because you're not my mom. You don't understand how I feel. And she's like, okay, and he like walks away from that like verbal abuse.
It's wild.
But yeah,
he's also listening on his headphones, like angsty, like he's like angstily listening to music because he lays on his pillow. And I'm like, okay, I respect that, Milo. We've all been there.
And then after that, that's when they go into Maddie's room, and she's like, okay, Maddie, don't forget your prayers. And Maddie looks at Katie McGrath in like wide eyes and is like, I miss my mommy and daddy in heaven, and I hope they're doing all right. And they're just like staring at each other, and she's just like not
eyes
blinking. Her eyes wide open. We're like, that's not how praying works.
I love my mommy and daddy in heaven. Good night.
I hope Grandpa gets like not a Scrooge anymore. It's like. Anyway, so then it goes to the grandpa and the prince, who's like, I'm gonna do a hunt. And the grandfather's like, hunts are horrible. I hate people in this house. And then the prince is like, yeah, it's still gonna happen, Dad. And he's like, okay. And they move past that.
Yeah, that was weird. They didn't really need to have that scene in there.
Yeah, and then Katie McGrath was like, I'm gonna buy a Christmas tree. And the grandpa's like, I hate Christmas. And they're like, okay. And they like go past.
Sounds good.
And then, then they go to sleep, right? So then they wake up the next morning, or she gets woken up next morning by like the trumpet blowing outside because the hunt is beginning. And so she looks out and she's like, her hair's a mess and she just woke up. And the prince is down there on his horse with this woman. And it turns out she's his like sexy girlfriend who's there that I think we just find out about in this scene. And she's like dressed for hunting. And then they're like talking and they both look up and she's like, who's that? Like judging her because her hair's not done. Yeah. And then the prince is like, oh, that's whatever Katie McGrath's name is.
Jules.
Jules.
Yeah. And then they go hunting, right? Like
they go hunting.
And then she gets ready, Katie McGrath gets ready, walks down the stairs, they're mopping the floor. Mm-hmm. And this is the exact same room.
Yeah, and picture Christmas Prince when she's walking down
that.
Yeah.
Literally the same, the exact same place.
Walks down the stairs and she slips on the floor and really just slowly like falls back and hits
Yeah, like she should be concussed.
Like no one was concerned.
Yeah, there's no way.
Anyway, so that happened, and then like the butler man was like, the kids are strapped into the car, ready to go.
Strapped. Okay. We have strapped them in.
Yeah.
Against their will. Off they go.
So they like go to the village to buy a Christmas tree, and Milo's like, God, I don't even know why we celebrate Christmas. And Maddie's just like having a good time. Her age fluctuates again. She's like 2 again. They see what was the old man is playing like an instrument outside, and like
and then
and orphans were singing. I forgot about that. Orphans were singing.
Oh yeah, outside. They were good. They were good too.
I thought the orphans is gonna like play a better role. Like I thought she's gonna go back to the orphanage or something, but like
help them or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought.
Don't be insane.
I thought it was gonna be Princess Diaries style
line.
when the orphanage becomes like
yeah.
she takes them on a parade or something.
The single line where the little girl was like, "They're orphans, just like us."
And Katie McGrath was like, "Yeah."
Wait, how did I miss that line? That's awful.
Yeah, and then Katie McGrath was like, "Yeah, but you have me, and I love you," and it was like really weird. And then
the orphans, we have no one.
Right, it's like unlike them, yeah, it's very strange. And then they go to pick out a tree, but like the Milo like stays behind because he's sulking because he doesn't want to help pick out a tree. Which like I get it, like he has trauma, so it's like
he needs therapy.
He needs
like someone needs to help him, and nobody is helping him.
All of them need desperate
like,
therapy.
Literally, just like let's do sports and not think about it. Like
yeah.
But anyway, so Milo like doesn't go in to pick out the tree, and then he gets like so the orphan is like playing soccer. And they don't name him or
I know.
He's like playing soccer and he like kicks the ball and it goes like near Milo and kind of like bumps into his foot.
It looks like someone off camera like threw the soccer ball to like make it seem like it.
And Milo like freaks out and basically like starts a fight with this kid. And
the kid like, socks him in the eye though. Like the kid
the kid really knocks him down.
He took the first swing.
Yeah. And then like it's a terror. They like Milo knocks down like a village merchant, and like they go into the kitchen. I don't know, are they at the kitchen back in the palace?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think they're like walking in from the events and they're like overwhelmed.
Yeah, and like they're like, oh my god, what happened? And Milo's like, it's nothing, you know, that orphan had it coming, or like something ridiculous.
And you're like, what?
Milo, calm down.
They did what now?
He absolutely was a terror that whole entire scene. Like, I really wanted to like feel for him because again, his parents just died like a year ago, but he was being absolutely like horrible that whole entire scene.
He was, yeah.
And then so this is when they bring in the tree, but this is when also Katie McGrath meets the love interest like girlfriend, which is named Arabella. Yeah,
because they're like going to a tea or something.
Yeah, she inexplicably goes to tea in the middle of all this. Not explained why.
Yeah, which was
just because she ran into the prince and the prince was like, let's go get some tea, and she was like, oh yeah, whatever.
So they go get tea and they like sit down with Arabella, who's the evil GF, and then her brother, and then there's someone else
again
too, right?
Like we never need to hear from him again, so it doesn't
we don't see him
her
again.
brother, he has a name though, Thomas.
I still remember what you remember. And then the prince and Katie McGrath, and they like all sit down and are chatting, and they like try to make Arabella unlikable from the jump, like the way she introduces herself. They fight over like who the artist of a piece of art is.
She mansplains antiques. It's just like the plate that the sandwiches are on.
Yeah.
Oh,
she's like, this plate is blah blah blah.
Crafted by this person, and Katie McGrath is like, oh, I think it's this person, which like she's like the expert. But they're like, no, you're just from Buffalo, so like you don't know anything.
Oh yeah, this is also the line that Emily said earlier when Emma, that was like, yeah, I'm from Buffalo. All we have is hot wings and a bud.
Oh yeah, because she didn't know what like a watercress like tea sandwich was.
Yeah, she's like, we just eat hot wings and drink Bud Light.
That comes up again and again. The fact that they eat hot wings from Buffalo, I guess there's no hot wings in Castleberry.
Yeah. So they were like, she can't drink hot wings and eat hot wings and like art. Like those two can't go together.
That doesn't make sense.
You can't enjoy both of those things. So they write her off immediately. They're like, no, you're absolutely wrong. And so she like, the tree comes in. They're like, the tree's here, like Jules. So she walks out to go decorate the tree, and they flip the plate over. And guess who was right? Little old woman from Buffalo.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Because she liked hot wings.
Stuff. She knows her stuff.
And they were like, looks like the American bested you this time, or some stupid crap.
Yeah, they did say
and
that.
Arabella's like, I don't get it. And you're just like, well.
Yeah.
So they're decorating the tree, and then the mean, I wish I remembered the servants' names.
Yeah.
The older servant lady comes in, she's like, take that tree down. We don't do Christmas here. And Katie McGrath is like, what's wrong? And like, basically it's just like, tell me about your childhood. And then the next scene cuts to like the older lady just crying about how horrible her childhood was.
Yeah.
And Katie
and
McGrath,
then she immediately pops up and is like, you're right. I love Christmas now. Let's decorate the tree. Like, it's snap.
like that. Nothing.
Just like that, Katie McGrath has gotten this woman to love Christmas. Like, at this point, we thought the central theme of this movie was that, like, Katie McGrath is going to have to convince, like, the children she looks after and all of the adults to love Christmas. But, like, it's all happening so fast.
Yeah,
you were like, oh, wait, I thought that was the conflict. And then also, like, here's the question I was thinking, like, in all of the Christmas movies, did we just need a Katie McGrath? Like, she solved everything so quickly. Like, is she the spirit of Christmas? Is she Santa?
I think us all personally need a Katie McGrath in our life to just, like, come up to us and be like...
let me hold your problems, child. Nosy agrees.
So it's crazy because that scene happens, they decorate the tree, and the prince comes. And then the grandfather comes. It's dramatic. They, like, zoom up to him. The key changes, like, to, like, dun, dun, dun. And he's like, take that Christmas tree down. And Katie McGrath like, you love Christmas. And he's like, you're right. And then he
cracks so quickly.
Well, the little girl helped with that too, right?
Yeah,
she,
I forgot
the ornament, and she was like, the the prince tells me that you love this ornament. And he was like, I do. It was given to me as a boy. And then
but it was given to him as a boy by his brother because he lost his, like, all this, like, emotional stuff. Yeah. This movie actually has a little bit of an emotional kick. Like, I actually do kind of care about these characters.
But again, like, nothing is connected. Like,
no, that came out of nowhere. Like, all this, like, there wasn't, like, mention at the beginning or, like, when they were talking about Christmas, like, any mention of the ornament. But all of a sudden, the ornament was the central role in making the scene, like making Katie McGrath solve the problem.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the ornament. Yes. Oh, yes, I love Christmas so much.
I know about the ornament.
And then we never talk about it again. After this, it's over.
He never
Christmas.
Brings up his brother ever again. Like, it seemed like his brother was, like, very important to him. And he's like, nope, no more brother. So the grandfather's in love with Christmas. Like, he wakes up the next morning. The butler's like,
have a ball.
Yeah. And he's like, we're having a ball in 5 days, right before Christmas. And the butler's like, can we do it, sir? And he's like, yes, we can, because of Christmas magic.
AKA Katie McGrath.
So then everyone, oh yeah, I forgot to say that was the scene that everyone was like, the scene before when he was giving the ornament. That was the scene that everyone got a little breathless, and it was, like, really uncomfortable. Because they're like,
yeah, they were all talking to each other in this really weird tone. They're like, and there was tension between everyone, and you know what kind of tension we're talking about. It was so uncomfortable. Like, the dad and Katie McGrath were like,
put the ornament on the tree.
Do you love Christmas?
Dad, don't forget, you love Christmas.
I can't even join it.
Emily, you have to do it.
You have to do one.
You love Christmas.
Normal.
You had to be a little bit more breathless.
More breath, like a Taylor Swift. Yeah, that was really uncomfortable. Anyways, so they have to plan for this ball. And then what happens?
This is when they start dancing, like the Prince and Katie McGrath start to dance.
No. Wait, before that, they're like talking about enriching Milo and the little girl, and they're like, you must pick literature, art, or dance, or music or dance or something like that. And so the kids walk to meet like their tutors, and the little girl's like,
no, we gotta talk about his shirt.
I was about to. The little girl like chose ballet, so she is like the ballet lady. And then we see Milo walk in with his shirt. It says "Die Yuppie Scum."
Die Yuppie Scum.
That's a shirt Rishi would wear.
Yeah.
Costume choice.
Also, Emily was the only one that saw it the first time, so we had to like we wanted to go back and be like, what?
He just proudly wore the shirt. Also, like, he was like 12. Like, die Yuppie Scum. Like, he's not wrong, but like, you good? Like, what's
the costume person for this movie? Like, I just want to like find out what they're about. Like, I have so many questions for the costume person. This is one of my biggest questions, is why he wore this
because
shirt.
the shirt comes back. Like, the shirt is in the
he
rotation.
wears it in several scenes. Yeah.
You guys, we can buy a Die Yuppie Scum shirt.
Did you find one?
It's everywhere.
Amazing.
Is it the same? Like,
no, it's not the same one as the one that he has, though.
Dang. Then they start they pan over because he chose to do like electric guitar, and it's like instead of like a prim, like the ballet tutor was all prim, and then the electric guitar guy has a goatee and a black shirt and spiky a black blazer and spiky hair and sunglasses, so you know he's edgy.
He's wearing his rocker shirt.
Like Kiana's rocker shirt. If you know, you know.
So the next scene is really strange because like all the main characters are in the same room, like the same shot, but they're all in different rooms. Like the kids are in 2 separate rooms learning ballet and electric guitar. And then the 2 adults, like the Prince and Katie McGrath, are like dancing. And then Nosy.
Sorry.
You guys can't see him if you're listening to the audio, but Emma just brought her cat up. Nosy.
He was meowing at me. I think he wanted to get an opinion in. Sorry.
But you like the movie?
Katie was like, you know, this is not how we dance in Buffalo. And then she like turns the song, and it's like she starts breakdancing really bad. And they have like a whole 2 to 3 minute scene of all of them just like dancing crazy. And the kids are like in the background like, woo! And Katie McGrath and Sam is like, yeah! And then
can we also talk about how Katie McGrath's fit is tragic in this scene?
Yeah, it's absolutely.
It's like classic. I'll insert a picture, but it's classic 2000s like shirt over like shirt and baggy jeans that don't fit.
Like not watch,
but not baggy in a cool way, but like baggy like they legitimately she got the wrong size.
Yeah, like she got a size too big.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's tucked into boots.
And so we're watching this and we're all like, their girlfriend, like Arabella's about to walk in. Like we all knew it was coming. And lo and behold, after a way too long montage of them hip hop dancing.
I actually thought it was cute. I don't know why, but I was like, oh, this is kind of nice. But it's like really uncomfortable to watch still though.
I think it was very uncomfortable. Arabella storms in because he was supposed to go to the country club. He forgot.
Because he was too busy hanging out with
Because he was too busy. Yep. That damn prince. And she like shuts off the music and she's like, what is this ghetto? What did she say? What is this ghetto music?
Yeah, hold on. I have it. No, I just have the love interest being racist question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, basically she just calls the music ghetto. We all were like, ooh,
ma'am?
Because at first we were like, they're just trying to pit, like you want to root for the Katie McGrath and the prince. So they have to make this woman seem evil. But she wasn't really like that evil.
She was just like stuck up, and you're like,
right. So we were like, okay, we see what they're doing. But then she called the music ghetto, and we were like, ooh, okay, maybe we don't.
We're on board.
yeah, maybe she's bad.
She was also attractive, so we were like, we could get past the flaws. And then when she was racist, we were like, never mind.
No. Oh my gosh.
But the next scene, that's when.
Wait, no. Or were you gonna talk about the shrimp thing?
Yeah, I was gonna talk about the shrimp thing.
Okay, yeah.
So the prince and Arabella go off, and the butler guy, I think his name was Paisley. I think Paisley comes up to him, and they're like, "Oh, what do you want? Like, what are your tapas for this ball?" And it was like, "What, shrimp quiche,
or like salmon mousse?"
Salmon mousse. And the prince is about to answer, and then Arabella's like, "Actually, I really like the salmon, right, hon?" And then she's like, and then she laughs.
And she was like, actually, what would be better is caviar. And then like looks at him, and the butler's like,
And the butler's like, I gotta go, and bye. And he like pieces out.
Yeah.
And then they just like have a little bit more awkward conversation that you're like, yeah, we know what you're doing, movie. You're supposed to show that Arabella's not right for the prince.
We get it. She's bad.
Katie McGrath's character is. We get it. You don't need to keep telling her.
Katie McGrath's just from Buffalo, though, so.
She only eats hot wings and drinks Bud.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that's the next scene is the grandpa and the prince going over the invite list to the ball.
Hooray, yeah, here we go. Another conflict arises.
So Katie McGrath sneaks down the stairs because there was a broken clock, and she sees an antique master. She's like,
and she worked at antiques and stuff.
Yeah, so she's like, I'm gonna fix this broken clock. And then she overhears the grandfather and the prince talking, but also she was like minding her own business, but she only overhears when she thinks they're talking about her.
Yeah.
Because they're like, wow, we shouldn't invite this girl because she's like not from the right crowd, and she's like,
she has no titles, she's crass. And like in the shot, they're panning over like a name that you can see it's not her.
The name is called Bunny McCracker. I want everyone to know that. The name is called Bunny McCracker. Okay, go on.
No, that's really all we needed there. So they're talking about Bunny.
Yeah, but it's like they're talking about this woman who like, oh, she has no title and no land and no money. And she thinks they're talking about her, and she's all offended and upset that they don't want her to come to the ball, which like, it's like on the one hand, they're not talking about her if you want her to find out, but at the same time, they are making fun of someone for having no land and no title. So like they could be talking about her. Like it's not like it's like
it's not an unreasonable assumption.
Yeah. But then she just like runs away sad. Oh, she bumps into the prince and he's like, "What's wrong? Like, what's going on?" And she's like, "Nothing. I fixed your clock." And he's like, "Wow, that hasn't worked for years." And then
I thought that he ran into her later with the doll head.
No, he runs into her a lot in this movie. That's
he runs into her twice. I'm like, I don't know why it's two separate scenes. They talk once in front of the clock, and then suddenly she's in her room. And
and he's playing the violin. They cut to him playing the violin, and he's actually pretty good at it. And then one of the servants is like, "Oh my God, we found the doll head!" And this is after we forgot to mention, like way back beforehand, he was like Maddie lost her doll head, and the prince was like, "I'm gonna put my best people to find this doll head for you," and you're like, "Aw, he cares about the kids."
Yeah.
And then like,
also earlier when they were dancing in that dance montage, when they were doing the waltz, he like mentioned he plays violin and is pretty good, and she's like, "Oh wow, like that's impressive," and he's like, "Settle down, like." Get back to focusing. And it was really weird, but he actually was pretty good at the violin, to his credit. I know it wasn't him playing because that's not how movies work,
but he mimicked it really well.
Yeah, I was actually quite impressed. And then and then the servant or the staff are like, "Who, like, what do you think made him play again?" And then they were like, "You mean who made him play again?"
Because it's like Beauty and the Beast, and he's melting his cold heart. Except for the prince has like never been cold this whole entire movie. Like he's been pretty open, nice. So I don't understand why they're like, who is doing this to him? And they're like, he's being like a normal. Maybe he forgot to practice a couple of times last week, and now he's just picking it up.
Yeah.
And then so he finds this doll head,
door, right? Yeah,
he knocks on the door.
She's like crying, and he's like, "What's wrong?"
She cries.
I found your doll head, and I guess she like doesn't really.
I relate to Katie McGrath
because, like, he didn't know it. Like, he didn't tell her at that point they were talking about her, so she didn't tell him. She was just like, "Oh, nothing. It's fine." And he just like gave her the doll head and like left, right? Like, there wasn't really
he was kind of like
concerned about like she looked like she just finished crying, and he wasn't like, "What's wrong?" He was like, "Hey, I found the doll head," and she's like, "Oh, that's nice." And he's like, "Okay, bye."
It was like, "Hello? That's it? That's all you got?" And so he's like, "Okay." And she's like, "Don't worry about me. I'm fine. No, really. It's all good here. Goodbye now." And then they just kind of end that there. And I also have here more Christmas Prince connections. She's from New York. He's bonding with the kids just like the Christmas Prince. Filmed at the same castle, obviously. She's clumsy. He's with a girlfriend, and she's not of royal descent, and the girlfriend's mean. And also the conflict. So guess we'll move on.
So the next scene is Milo's breaking into this room that was locked. They mentioned it like once before early in the movie, but he breaks into the room and he like looks at the stuff, and it turns out to be his dead dad's room. And then the prince is like, "Hey, I see you opened up the dead dad's room."
And they like, what's behind door number 1? It's dead dad's room. Woo!
And they like bond over it. He's like, "I miss him too." We also forgot to mention that the prince and Milo bond beforehand over archery, and they're like, "We're men. We bond over sports," and they bond
like,
again.
Traumatized and depressed, and the answer is to like play archery, not
both
like
of his parents died.
Yeah.
And then they were like, Katie McGrath was like, "I don't know how to reach out with him and like connect." And the prince was like, "Sports, madame. Archery will solve his depression. Should we try archery? Is that what's missing?"
Yeah, I think I need to try archery next.
I guess you should.
But it's crazy because they like that was actually a very emotional scene. Like it was like he was like talking about his dad, how Milo was talking about his dad, how he like tries to remember his face every day, but he slowly forgets. And you're like actually like, why am I actually a little emotionally invested in this movie?
Yeah, I like dead ass cried. Like that hit too hard. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And then like
oh my god, I'm tearing.
And then we'll quickly move on. And then the brother, the prince is like, yeah, we should definitely keep this open, and it'll bring Christmas cheer. He loved Christmas time, and they're like, aw. And now Milo's depression is fixed.
Yeah, literally. He's not
One
depressed.
Conversation between them. That's all that it needs.
Depression be gone.
Okay, and so the last
And then
scene,
it's the ball, right?
we're in the last 20 minutes of the movie. We're like, what is the plot, and where
what
are
is
we gonna
the conflict?
find it?
Yeah, like, what is happening?
There's only one thing missing, and that is Katie McGrath. Where is she?
Where could she be?
She decided to go back home because they were talking about her, she thinks.
Yeah.
And she's like, I gotta get away. I gotta go back to Buffalo.
Her solution isn't to like, okay, I'll skip the ball. It's like, I will fully go home to Buffalo, leaving the two children that are in my care here.
Yeah, she's a legal guardian. Like,
with the like, you know, the cold and distant grandfather and some staff members. Like, I'll just leave them here.
The cold and distant grandfather.
And yeah, so she tells the kids that she's leaving and tells them not to tell anyone and doesn't tell anybody else, like 0 other people, that she's leaving. And so then she just gets in a taxi and she's like, go to the train station, please. And then at the same time, like the staff members that have been like helping her or whatever, like pull up to the castle and get out with this like garment bag, and they're like, we've gotten it for her, because like she didn't have a dress to wear because it got ruined and also it was terrible. Like all and got this dress for her, and they were like, where did Katie McGrath go? Where is she? And they were like, hold the car, we found out that she left, she's gone. And so then they get in the car and they have to race to the train station because they need to catch Katie McGrath, because they all bought this dress for her and it would be very sad if she couldn't wear it.
With their own money. With their own hard-earned cash.
All the staff
Even
bought
though
it with
they
their
work
own
for
money.
a literal prince.
Yeah. Also, I forgot to mention that the whole entire time they're in Castleberry, it is snowing. It is a light dusting going on because it's Christmas time and there has to be snow everywhere.
Of course, it's Christmas time. That's just how the weather works when Christmas time rolls around. Also, this is where, while they're chasing down Katie McGrath, this is where the prince has to break up with his snooty girlfriend at the ball because she was ghosting his calls. He was like, Arabella, I've been calling you. You haven't picked up any of my calls. And she's like, yeah, I was getting ready for the ball. Like, what do you want?
What an awful fit. Gotta be honest. Like,
yeah, the fit was not good. No one did. They did no one justice in this movie with outfits.
No, the fits, especially at the ball, were particularly awful.
Yeah,
but yeah, he was like, well, so like, what do you see in me? Like, would you still love me if I like didn't have a title and wasn't a prince? And she was like, actually, no. If you were a gardener, I would not give you the time of day.
Yeah, actual line.
Good? Like, that's literally the line.
Verbatim.
Like, so we're good, right? Like, should we go back to the ball? Like, I'm sure that's what you were like expecting to hear, like, obviously. And he was like, no, actually, we're gonna break up now. And she was like, how dare you? And then her mom came in, and they like, she didn't tell them, but like, so they broke up.
Wait, we forgot to mention because they only bond in 2 ways in this movie: Katie McGrath and the prince. Katie McGrath dances to them, 1 bond. He's good with the children, another bond. The 3rd bond is when after she finished crying and he finds the doll head, he's like, hey, if you had the option between shrimp or salmon, what would you pick? And she was like, well, what do you like? And he's like, no one has ever asked me what I like to
Yeah.
And he's like, I like shrimp.
Arabella.
Yeah. He's like, I like shrimp. Do you like shrimp? And she's like, yeah,
shrimp is good.
I like shrimp.
And then you're like, okay, I guess they're in love now. And he like talks about that, like basically when he breaks up with Arabella, being like, we're not compatible. Which one? She's kind of trash because she was literally like, if you were anything but a prince, I would not be dating.
I would not be with you. Yeah.
And then 2, she called music ghetto for no reason, just because it had a little bit of funky beats to it. So,
yeah, absolutely coded AF.
So
yeah, so they break up.
And the prince is feeling good. He's like, where's Jules? And the kids are like,
They're like, ooh.
Like, we can't tell you.
Ooh. You know that wait, sorry. You know that scene in New Girl where Allie, like, Winston asks Allie to hang out and she's like, ooh, 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 and she's like, no. That's what the kids are doing because they're trying not to tell the prince where Katie McGrath went.
So Katie McGrath is at the train station. She also, I guess, is going into the train station because one of the members of the staff, the older staff, is like, wait, you left your garment bag back there. And she's like, okay. And she goes back to the cab. She unzips the bag and she's like, that's not my dress.
Completely oblivious.
We had it shipped in all the way from Vienna for you. Like, specifically Vienna, which, like, okay. And it was
like, an insult to Vienna.
Like, we can't see much of the dress, but, like, we can see that it's, like, heavily bejeweled on the front.
And it's white. And you're like, it's kind of cute.
Like, I opened
it up and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, definitely better than what she had before, which is saying something.
Yeah.
For some reason, that's all she needs. She's like, okay, I'll get back in the car and go to the ball
they need
now
you there. And she's like, you're right.
You're right. Off I go. Back into the cab.
So she changes. They also tell the cab driver to pull up the partition because she changes in the back of the car where she could have just
other people.
Yeah. She could have just easily just waited until she got to the
It was cute they bought her the dress though. I thought that was
they were like, we bought this with our own money, and she was like, oh.
Yeah, it was cute. So they're driving on back. What happens next?
This is when they get to the ball and the grandpa's like, where's Jules? And then Paisley, the head butler, is like, there she is, sir. And then they're like, Jules from Buffalo, New York.
And she walks down.
From Buffalo.
Yeah.
In the most garbage fit we've ever seen.
It looked like
So
they like put a whole bunch of fabric together and they're like, Katie, you're gonna rock this. And she's like, I don't know, guys. It looks kind of bad.
Yeah, it looks like she was going to a frat party and they were like, what's the theme? And they're like, togas. And she was like, I guess I have this old dress that sort of looks like a toga. Yeah. And then she wrapped a sheet around it and called it a day.
Yeah, but also, like, it was clearly that they, like, designed this dress to be, like, kind of low cut and, like, have, like, not much on, like, it had, like, it was, like,
it's pretty backless, right?
Yeah. And it was backless. Like, and not in, like, a distasteful way. It was, like,
it looked like a fine dress.
Yeah, totally. And then clearly what they did afterwards, like, they must have decided in the costumes department, which, like, I don't know what was wrong with all of them, that, like, it was too much for this, like,
too risque
children's show, this family show. So they added this, like, weird green, like, thing.
Like a green slip.
Yeah. Like, over her boobs. Ugh. And then they put this, like, skin color slip on her that went up to her arm.
So bad.
And so that, like, on the side of her dress, which was open, there was just this weird skin color.
Yeah. Honestly,
why did they do it?
Katie McGrath is attractive, and they put her in that dress to make her, like, I've never been not attracted to Katie McGrath, but that
dress, yeah.
Pushing it. I was like, wow. Yeah,
it was really bad.
It was worse than, what's her name's dress from Christmas Prince.
Yeah, it was.
Saying something because her dress was
Definitely
awful.
The stair descend was basically the same as Christmas Prince also, and so they dance together. They, like, dance outside and they're, like, smooching, and then inside, the Arabella and her mom are having a fit because they're like, you're letting the prince cavort outside with this commoner, blah blah blah. And then Grandpa steps in and he defends Jules, or Katie McGrath.
That's her name, Jules.
Yeah, I was like,
doesn't sound right.
Who am I talking about? And he calls,
he's like, I'm gonna be better than when, you know, my other son was with the other sibling, her sister, and I threw him out and cut him off. I'm gonna be nicer to this girl because I've had a change of heart. And he was like, she's more of a lady than you'll ever be. And they're like, oh.
It's because Arabella exposes Katie McGrath.
Yeah, I was about to say that, yeah.
Oh, true.
She got fired. Milo is a kleptomaniac, and I'm gonna shame this little 7-year-old girl for eating too much chips. And they
She
do
says,
have
like, she calls her like a
decided
trans fatty or something.
She said trans fat junkie or something like that. But it was still like, what?
Like, she is a
end of this
child.
movie, like, and decided that what this movie needed more than anything, after all of the lack of conflict and all the twists and turns,
was a sprinkle.
To fat shame a 7-year-old girl
for eating. She was eating
for
Doritos, like Cool Ranch
Doritos.
chips.
It was
which
one
was
bag.
the worst.
One bag.
It was one bag of Doritos Cool Ranch.
It was a normal amount of Doritos for a child. Like, she
also,
hungry.
if she wanted to have more than one bag of Doritos, that's fine.
Yeah, it
and,
also
like,
looked
let's sprinkle some fat phobia in here.
But also, it looked like no one was eating anything. Also, they only had shrimp and salmon. So, of course, she's not going to eat the shrimp or salmon because she's a child, and they don't really like. They're like to stick to what they know.
Yeah,
so,
that's
she probably wouldn't.
That's really literally probably all she was gonna eat. Anyway, so
we were heated about that.
Yeah.
We're like, don't fat shame a 7-year-old. Fuck you.
We skipped over the part when Katie McGrath was like, I know you were talking about me. And like,
oh yeah, they
resolved
that.
With your grandpa, and he was like, no, we were talking about that chick over there. And they like point to Bunny McCracker, who is fine. She kind of looks like a Cruella de Vil knockoff. Yeah. But like, other than
looks
that,
pretty normal. Yeah.
She looks, and then Katie's like, oh, okay. And that's the end
problem
of that.
solved. Conflict over. After all the drama too, they all like, she stands up for the kids, blah blah blah. Everyone's like, woohoo. Arabella and her mom leave. They go up to the Christmas. They go up to the Christmas tree where they have like, the Christmas tree. They open the door, and Santa's there. And usually when you see a cameo from Santa, it's like, you know, he flies away or like, you know, to preserve the magic. But no, they have full-on interaction with Santa. Like, they're running in, they're sitting slap, they're talking.
Yeah.
And Milo, before they run it.
See, I told you I was wrong about Santa existing. Santa is real. And the little girl's like, wow. And they just don't have
Yeah. The full circle is, we forgot to say in the beginning, Milo's like, Santa's not real. And Maddie's like crying because he just like broke her heart.
She's a child.
So that's why he's like, see, I was wrong. And she's like, yeah, you were wrong, Milo. And they like have fun with Santa. And the prince and Katie McGrath is like, oh, that's cute. And then fireworks happen.
Yep, fireworks out of nowhere. Marriage. Ding dong.
They're walking out of a church and they've been married, and her fit is awful once again, but not as bad.
Yeah.
Oh wait! We forgot the worst line of the movie.
What did we forget?
When they kiss, he says, "You've absconded my heart."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then she just says she's just a poor girl from Buffalo.
I'm just a poor girl from Buffalo,
she was like,
you're
how
a
did
prince.
I do that? And it's like, what do you mean, how did you do that? Your sister literally, quote unquote, absconded the heart of his brother like 20 years ago. What do you mean you didn't think this was possible? It doesn't make sense. But I was going to say that I thought the line in the wedding scene was almost just as bad, where they get in like the First John carriage, and she's like, hello, my prince. And he's like, hello, my princess.
No,
and
he says,
like,
no, but you forgot the pause. He's like, hello, my princess.
But yeah, that was awful too, because there was no need for it. There's like children around. It's like a full ceremony. Like, they're just like riding away, and he's just like, hello,
and the last line,
my princess.
The last line, she's like, wow, I guess we're in line for royalty. And he's like, maybe. And he like shrugs. He says no words. He shrugs. And she's like, what?
He's like, wait a minute, hello?
And then they ride off, and then the narrator comes back, and they are like, live happily ever after. It was a Christmas miracle. And you're like, wow.
Wow, like, okay. What a movie.
So yeah.
My rating... Oh, no, you finish.
No. I was just going to say that was a Princess for Christmas.
Princess
2011.
2011.
Classic.
Great film.
My rating for A Princess for Christmas was 8.5 out of 10 shrimp. Because
wow.
Jumbo?
I thought, I don't know, they didn't really specify in the movie, right?
Shrimp quiche.
Maybe I'm just sensitive today. I think that could be a lot of my rating is really inflated.
Really high
But I
rating.
did like tear up during when I teared up when they were talking about the dead parents a few times. I also teared up when the staff chipped in to buy Katie McGrath a dress, and the ending was creepy, but it was nice. Also, like the love interests are easier to get behind versus other like a Christmas Prince.
Yeah, you could feel the chemistry between them. We've
That's a
like
good
watched
point.
some movies where we're like, there's no chemistry.
There's nothing,
between.
yeah.
But they
Yeah,
actually
it's like
seemed
they-
like cordial with each other, which was
There
good.
like weren't plot points in the movie to point to them like having chemistry or like a relationship, but like the actors did a good job,
yeah.
so that helped.
Yeah, the actors really acted their butt off in this movie.
They really did. They carried.
Even with the horrible fits, we at least had good actors and good soundtrack.
True.
I was saying I was gonna give it. I'll probably give it 6 out of 10 shrimp. It would be maybe more of a 7, but like the total lack of like centralized conflict was
yeah, that's fair.
kind of did it for me. So that had to knock a shrimp off, but it was still it was a fun film to watch.
Yeah.
So I definitely think if anybody is listening and has listened to both of these, I would recommend watching
this one,
Princess for Christmas over A Teacher for sure.
I'll give it I was gonna give it a 7.5 shrimp because it wasn't like the perfect Christmas movie, but I actually did really enjoy myself watching it. Like we've watched some pretty bad Christmas movies where I'm like, this is like horrible, but like I think this one's like not that bad. Like Christmas Prince, which one of the Christmas Prince? The second one was the one where we're like, this is awful. The one that we did the podcast.
Yeah, that one was horrible.
Yeah.
When
the third Christmas Prince was okay.
Yeah.
First one was bad. Second one was atrocious. Third one was okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I definitely will give this a 7.5 out of fits. If you love, I think also it Katie McGrath carries it a lot, even though her American accent goes in and out. She tries, but it's like in and out, and you're like, I can just hear it.
It's here with me.
But like, there are better Christmas movies, but I don't think this one is the worst one. I think if people watch it, they will really enjoy it because it's like, oh, this is just cheesy enough for me to like.
Yeah, I was gonna say like we have bad Christmas movies and cheesy Christmas movies. Mm-hmm. I feel like that is more of a cheesy than like a bad.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. There are moments that I actually like laughed at because I was like, this is so ridiculous.
I was moved by parts of it. Yeah.
Emily might not feel the same.
I wasn't as moved, but I did like it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I had a good time. Maybe I'm not in the Christmas spirit yet. I'll get there.
That's fair. Yeah. It is a little early for that, but
like you have plenty of time to get into Christmas spirit. So we're also probably gonna watch like another, at least 1 or 2 more Christmas movies.
Yeah.
Maybe more. We're not gonna put any kind of cap on our Christmas movie watching. Yeah. So get ready for that.
It's that time of the year.
Yeah.
It's that time of the year. Like this video or pod if you enjoyed it, and subscribe. We're on Instagram and Twitter.
Hey, do I look like the rocker from
the movie? Yes, you do. And this is
what did we just watch? We need to like figure out like